How you doing today? This is Scott Kidd and a good friend here, Eddie Austin. We're here on the Inner Compass. So we're here to share with you guys today. We're going to talk about.
I want to welcome you to the Intercompass podcast, along with my good friend Scott Kidd. As we recorded this series,
Like we both say, we're just getting started.
We had so much fun, and we hope you do too.
Today is gratitude and purpose, and it's something I've been thinking about. We've been thinking about over the last thing because this is episode 7, which I'm really grateful that this podcast is actually a purpose for both of us, and it's something that I know that has really been helpful to me is just being grateful for having a purpose. And I'd like to introduce my friend Eddie Austin. How you doing today?
Man, I'm doing fantastic. Just another grateful day to just have a purpose. This has been so much fun to do this with you, and just this has kind of helped me through the last 6 previous episodes. It's kind of helped me remind me of what my real purpose is in life. And it's not, make a bunch of money and, just do the things that I do. It's how I'm helping other people. And I have to say I don't really meditate, but through being quiet and sitting still, I've found so much gratitude in what we've done, which is so cool because it's made my life way more meaningful or reminded me that I should think about life as kind of a gift. And, it's not like it's not like I have to do this. I get to do this. And
Yeah.
that's the really cool part.
Yeah, that's a great thing and a great reminder that we're not forced into doing anything. We have the choice, and things. It goes back to also that things don't happen to us; they happen for us. A lot of times we just have to be grateful and trust the process that these things are happening for us, whether good, bad, or indifferent are the choice we make in our mind. So we have to sometimes just give it a little bit of a pause and say, well, there's probably a greater lesson in here
Oh,
that
yeah.
we need to probably look out for, or maybe reflect back on, because chances are when things are really bad and that's just in that moment and it too will pass. And you look back on it, you see something like, hey, I need to learn that I need to have some more patience, or
Hmm.
that trust the process, that hey, this is all happening for me for a reason. And it's whether you believe in a higher power or not, but I definitely do. And there's always some kind of guidance, and there's that saying that God doesn't give us anything we can't handle, and that's the reason why we get that sometimes is just to help us along the journey, because we need to get to a certain position of strength to where we can handle, because what might be coming is something much harder.
Oh, man, there have been times I've shook my fist at the wind when God was telling me to just build a better sailboat, you know, to build a better boat to go through this and I've been through some times that, and my mom actually said this, that was really cool. She said, I asked the Lord one time why I'm being brought so far out the sea, so far away from everything, and why the seas
Hmm.
were rough and all these different things. And she put it into a really cool parable, which was, it's almost like God was saying, because your enemies can't swim or because they don't have a boat to handle the seas. So she was being brought out there in this life changing things that was going on in her life, because the enemies that were, you know, trying to infiltrate her mind, or the things she was doing to try and get her to do things that she knew wasn't the right choices to make, her enemies couldn't swim. And it was at that
Mm,
moment she had that epiphany of that smile to say, I know why I'm going through this now.
mm,
It's because I'm supposed to learn to be grateful for what I've been given. And
hmm.
my purpose is to continue beyond past what's going on in my life right now. I'm being built for the future. I'm being tested for the future. And that really resonated with me. I think during that time, I actually wrote a pretty decent Facebook post around that, because there was things going on in my life. It was very similar. And
Hmm.
I had to also tell myself and shift the mind to say, Eddie, it's not like you have to do this. The cool part is you get to do this.
Hmm.
And that's when the gratification, the gratitude really started to run through the cracks of the solid stone and say, hey, man, this is pretty cool. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you get to do these things. And then I was able to kind of find my passion with that. And, I'd have to say that gratitude isn't passive, it's a daily decision.
Yes.
I think you're supposed to ask yourself, like, what's good today? What are the things that happened to you today that you should be grateful for? And it kind of helps you set that up. Like, it's almost like, I'm having trouble explaining it here, but it's almost like when you ask, what's good today? You almost start to smile inside and you're like, well, I woke up on my own and I got out of bed. I took off and had a walk, and I had a beautiful walk. I got to listen to the birds. I got to see the trees, the flowers, all the wildlife, and I was able to do that. And then I was able to take a shower and then meet with a great person. And now here I am doing this podcast with you. It's off to a really good start. Like, it's pretty cool,
Yeah.
but it's just because I made the daily decision.
Yes, it most certainly is. There's, one of the things I do and that I do in the morning, part of my little morning ritual is, I do some breath work and then I do some writing. Just there was a guy I watched, David Bayer, quite a bit, and he's written quite a bit of different books and stuff where he just said it's when you're journaling and stuff, just write what comes out. A lot of
Yeah.
times, because especially if stuff's like really heavy on your head or bothering you, if you just start writing it, and then sometimes you just feel better that you write, especially when you're having an issue with your spouse or your other significant other or just business partner or what have you. Maybe write them a letter, and you feel better, and then you actually think it through. It's like, actually, this is something that is probably a non-issue once you have written it all the way out, and it's like, why am I holding on to this? And then it helps you make amends, make peace, and just be grateful the fact that you took pause and you took that moment to say, hey, wait a minute, maybe I'm just making this up, or maybe this, and you might go to that person and speak to them, and they might not even know this is going on, but yet you held on to that
Yeah.
so heavily, that it was in conflict with, having being grateful for having that person in your life and having that purpose, and they're with you on that journey. So sometimes it really is helpful to just kind of get to those things. Because I was thinking about, have you ever read the book Tuesdays with Maury?
No.
I think you would really, really like it. It's about a guy that his life kind of at the end of he was in the end of life, and he started physically deteriorating, and he eventually had a caretaker. And there was a line in the book, and it may be a little bit graphic for some people, but he said, today I was really upset at myself because I couldn't wipe myself this morning. But you know what? I never really liked doing that. So let somebody else do it.
That's good. That's
And I
good. I like
said,
that.
there's something where you can actually be grateful for the situation that you're in. And I think about that a lot of times because, one, it makes me laugh, and I like to laugh. And it just kind of makes me think about, like, what am I, here's this guy, he's in a chair. Somebody has to help him go to the bathroom. What do I have to be claimed to be upset about? But I have everything to be grateful for because I can walk on my own two legs. I can walk around. I can see. I can enjoy
Hey,
time here, there, and be on this podcast with you and stuff. And it just gives you pause, and it gives you something that sometimes you have to laugh at yourself because it's something that you really, when you pause, you go, why am I really getting upset over this for?
yeah, yeah. That's the truth. And, I want to go back for a minute because you said something that was really powerful. And I've done this in the past too, and need to get better at it, right? You're only as good as our daily habits. And I'm a firm believer of, how you do anything is how you do everything, of course. But
Yes.
I also believe you are what you repeatedly do. Therefore, greatness ought to be a habit.
Hmm.
And that was a great quote. And I think that sometimes when you have trouble sleeping and trouble getting your daily mindset in the right place to be productive during the day, I really feel like writing, journaling is really good. So I know when I was going through some tough partnership breakups, not marriage, but business partnership breakups and some things going on, I had trouble sleeping at night. Like I could
Mm-hmm.
not shut it off at all. And what I started doing was actually journaling and
Mm-hmm.
just picking up the pen, and I'll be honest, sometimes I couldn't even read my own writing because I'd start out, pretty angry. just, just kind of letting that pen just, write. And
Yeah.
it was just coming out of me and just kind of writing about the things that was bothering me. And by the end of it, I'd start to slow down and I could start to read my own writing and my punctuations and grammar would come back and everything else. And I'd start to feel better. And it was like at the end of that, I got it off my chest. And then I was able to get a good night's sleep. And if I woke up in the exact same, mind, if I immediately started thinking about it, I'd immediately pick up the pen again and start writing. And then I'd prompt myself to, and I'd highly recommend this, audience, if you're listening to this and this resonates with you, do this next thing. It'll help you with tons of partnerships, something I wasn't always good at. If there's a message that is somewhat combative, controversial, anything like that, type it out in the text and then delete it.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe even before you get to the text, like write it down what you want to say and then type it out in your phone and then delete it
Mm-hmm.
and then write it again and then read it to yourself and then think about the other person.
Mm-hmm.
Think about how this is going to make them feel. And if you would want to receive that same text message out of the complete nowhere and blue. Because what you have to remember, what Scott said a few minutes ago was, you might be the only one that feels that way.
Mm-hmm.
And the person may be blindsided by this text that's this long that you've been writing over the last 30 minutes that you refuse to delete. And you deliver that out of a place of anger instead
Mm-hmm.
of out of a place of, hey, for the things that happened to me that I'm upset about, I should be grateful for it, not upset about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I get to take what happened to me to another level. I get to take what
Mm-hmm.
happened to me into the next relationship that's not going to go wrong because I know different now. You can kind of
Mm-hmm.
dissect that thing. And so just words of advice there. If you're having trouble sleeping, number one, because you got a bunch of things on your mind, write it all down, journal it out,
Mm-hmm.
and get it off your mind. You'll be surprised how towards the end of it, you start writing and you're like, man, I feel good about this. And then in the morning,
Yeah.
if you wake up and immediately, boom, you got it back again, do it again. And then maybe you need to physically confront the person that has been
Yeah.
upsetting you. But first, do that practice of write it down, type it out, delete it, write it again, because this time you're thinking about it, and then read it to yourself and think about the other person that you're about to slam this text message to. And I
Yeah.
know you can sometimes emphasize text too, so you can like hold the send button on the iPhone and you can make it slam, so
Yeah.
maybe you're that man.
Yeah. 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 It's funny how we can have emotions in text messages now with
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
them. It's for emphasis, but to your point, just writing all those things out and deleting it and then writing it again. There's an exercise I had to do one time with Dr. Jamil, coach, wrote it out, and then just crumpled it up and threw it away. You'd be surprised when you do that. It does kind of tells your brain that like that's you're done now. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? We're done with
You
it. We're
said
done
it.
with that because you threw it away, and you'd be surprised at how relieving, how much relief you get from that. Because like say you had you know, an incident with your spouse or something, you write it out and you throw it away. It's case in point. A lot of times you both having a different interpretation of what happened, and that person could go throughout their whole day and they come back, they didn't even know you were upset
That's the
at
truth.
all. They had
That's the truth.
no clue, but yet you were holding on to it like the analogy you made a few episodes back, dragging that big baggage around, that big bag around, and they didn't even know you had it.
Yeah.
Until they look behind you and they go, wow, this person's really upset. That's a big bag of stuff.
No wonder he's upset. Well, I love the saying of never bleed on the person that didn't cut you.
Yeah.
So sometimes we're bleeding, inside about some, previous thing that happened, and never bleed on the person that didn't cut you. So what that really means, to put it into a little more simple terms, is look, is if I had a previous call before this one and they really said some hurtful things and I'm kind of bleeding inside, and then Scott jumps on this podcast and starts, going a path that I don't think we should go. And I just kind of, say, hey man, I don't think we should be talking about that right now. That's not what this episode's about. I'm bleeding on him right now. I'm not angry with him. I'm reacting to something that's still not going right in the future. But what happened was this back here, the conversation prior to this call, that's what's going on, because you're sitting
Mm-hmm.
here going, man, why is Eddie so upset? We're just we're just open mic, just having a good conversation here. What's he upset about? Well, what what I didn't tell you is man, I had a tough call before this, and leave that back there. It's like wadding
Mm-hmm.
that up and going, throwing
Yeah,
this
that's
away.
done.
It's done. We're coming into this meeting now, clean mind, and that's the thing, is some people don't understand why you're being controversial, brash with them, is
Mm-hmm.
because they're like, man, I don't know what's going on. And
Yeah.
sometimes people take that as a personal, to
Yeah,
say,
personal attack.
man, I don't know what I did. I
Yeah.
thought things were going pretty well. And then
Yeah.
that person starts manifesting their own assumptions. And that's a bad thing.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how like one reaction can just kind of cause a chain reaction between people. Like if there was times where I worked for people where they came in hot, and they were just and something had happened to them many times in their life, but it was a buildup and they never dealt with it, so they just took it out on everybody around. But when they were done talking, they were done, but everyone was bleeding. The bodies everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
they didn't understand. They were fine, but
Hmm.
everyone else was destroyed. It just goes to show how, like, when you're walking around or whatever you're doing, if you're grateful and you say hello to people and you stop, that does affect other people. If you cut somebody off, or you do all these things that are, you're maybe lashing out because maybe you're having a bad day. Instead, just be grateful that you actually have a day.
Oh, so I wanted to ask you about that. So you had sent me a text here a couple days ago about, episode 7. You were really feeling that, kind of two different words. You had said, I'm
Yeah.
thinking more of, it should be gratitude or it should be purpose. And we kind of found a way to kind of fit that together, because I do feel like gratitude does complement purpose. And I think when you
Does.
find that you're thankful in being grateful, you're able to figure out what you're actually doing this for. Just
Yeah.
tell me what was on your heart that day, that really had you. What was the morning meditation like? What was it like that you were like, man, this is what I think we should have our episode 7 on. So talk about that.
Well, initially I thought, like we were just saying, that gratitude and purpose could be two total episodes, and they could be. But I'm glad we kind of intertwined them, because that morning, I was really grateful because, hey, I'm heading home, which
Yeah.
is tomorrow now. I'm grateful that I get to see my family and get to have a good weekend with them, and that just kind of reinforces my purpose, that I'm doing a lot of stuff for them, and that I'm grateful that I get to do that stuff for them, and that I have people in my life that I care so much about, that I'm willing to do anything to uplift them and make their lives better. So just having that, you know just being grateful, it gives you a really higher sense of clarity, and then it really enables you to say no to a lot of things. Just say,
Hmm.
okay, that's not in alignment with my purpose, which is my family. So I'm going to schedule my family first, and those things that we want to do, and then just grateful to the fact that I have the chance to make their lives better and do things that potentially a lot of other people don't get to do, and maybe be struggling a lot, but I realize that I have that purpose, which is them, that I can do these things for them. And it kind of, they both feed each other because it keeps getting better and better and better, because the more gratitude you have, the more purpose you're able to have.
Sure, sure. And I totally agree. I mean, at the end of the day, I know for me, at the times I'm struggling to find purpose, I'm not giving myself credit. So,
Yeah.
the other day I ended a call that didn't go as I expected. I really had connected with this person and really felt like they needed what I had to offer. And I got on the call and I completely misinterpreted everything that call was supposed to be about. It's not like I didn't understand the task or, the agenda. It's that their agenda was a little bit different once they finally got on the call, and they'd been trying to set up this call with me for a while. And at the end of the day, I realized that they needed something different for me at that time. It wasn't the mentorship, it was the confirmation that they're doing a good job.
Mm-hmm.
And because that's really what they were looking for, is confirmation that they were doing a good job and that they should be grateful for, what they were doing. Should I be, and the question was, is should I be okay with what I'm doing? Should I be satisfied with where I am in my life? And I was like, absolutely, because think about, what is your purpose? Like, what is the
Mm-hmm.
purpose of your trying to accomplish in your journey? And essentially, what they needed to feel was that they were grateful for the things that they were able to do. And for me, when I ended the call, I went to spin out of my chair and I just stopped and I said, Eddie, you're doing a good job.
Mm.
And man, I can't tell you how that made me. It was like a lightning bolt of just happiness that hit me. And I said, yeah, I'm doing a good job.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really am. I'm doing everything I can and I'm doing a good job. And I turned around. That was such a good moment that I turned around and I made a post. And I think that post hey, look, if you haven't told yourself lately, you're doing a good
Mm.
job. And I couldn't believe how many people resonated with that post. And some people were saying, Eddie, I'm so happy that you reminded me to tell myself that I'm doing a good job. So I think that, grateful also comes with, hey, the pat on the back is, Scott,
Yeah.
you're doing a good job, man.
Yeah.
And
Definitely. I do remember that post, and that it is a great reminder that, we need to also, we can be the biggest fan for a lot of other people, but you need to be your biggest fan also. You
yeah,
know, you need to give yourself some credit, celebrate the wins, pat yourself on the back. Every once in a while, just look back and see all the stuff you've actually accomplished and say, hey, Eddie, you're doing a good job. Hey, Scott, you're doing a good job. You're doing well. Look how far you've come, and look how much further you're going to go. Because I know Eddie and we're just getting started.
that's the case, man. That needs to be loud and proud on the wall, just getting started. Because that's the
Yeah.
truth. At the end of the day, I had somebody say, dude, you are doing so good in so many different areas. And I said, well, I appreciate that, but I'm just getting started.
Yeah. You know what? Because I write, I have this thing I write. It's kind of a decision matrix I write every morning, like certain things, like how you talk yourself. Like, say, for instance, I might write, raising capital is hard. And the next section you write, raising capital is easy. And then you next column, you write out all the things reasons why that's easy. Capital is abundant. I attract ultra high net worth individuals, fund
Yeah.
managers, this, and then I write that out every day. And then I write examples of friends of mine or people I know, like this lady I met at a conference. She raised $2 billion in 30 minutes to save Delta Airlines. And I was like, you did what? And I said, here I am, like thinking about, 50 grand or 20 grand or
Yeah. Yeah.
100, and she said that she did it with 6 phone calls. And I said, and her name was Mary. I said, Mary, you did that? I said, that is like mind blowing to me. And then
Yeah.
she goes, yeah, I did it because you know what?
Wow.
And nobody tell me I couldn't.
Yeah, exactly. What do you
I
think?
knew. Yeah. And then, in like another fourth column, I'll write just like an example of an action. Like, I'm going to make X amount of, make X amount of calls. I follow up consistently. And then one thing I started writing was, it is my obligation to my family to build this multi-billion-dollar fund, commercial real estate fund, to provide them with the life that they deserve. And then at the bottom, I started putting, I'm just getting started.
Dude, I'm getting chills. That's got to be the best thing I've heard all year, and that is so cool. I'm gonna adopt that daily practice because let's be
Yeah,
honest, man,
it's great.
the both things are true. The first thing you wrote down, the first sentence you wrote down, it's true.
Mm-hmm.
The second one is true, but which
Mm-hmm.
one do you choose to believe?
Yeah,
And
and
then
it's
you started
no, go
building the
ahead.
case on the
Yeah,
second sentence. You're like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. Raising capital is easy.
yeah, and then what's important about that fourth section is because my Dr. Jamil, a coach of mine, he added that. He said, put something in that fourth column that's going to evoke some emotion that gives you that why, that purpose, that thing, and you'd be surprised at how powerful it is. And I write it every morning as part of my practice, and it you'd be surprising if you feel down before you're doing it, and then you after you're done, you're like, okay, next step. All right, let me get on the phone. Let me contact some people on LinkedIn. Let me see who I can speak to today that I have spoken to already, that can be grateful for the fact that I've made all these connections that's going to fulfill this purpose that I have, because it's just, and I'd strongly recommend anyone do that practice, because it has helped me so much, just in like going from that negative spiral to that positive spiral up.
Man, that's powerful. I mean, that is powerful. And thank you for sharing that because I know I'm going to be doing it from here on forward and
Nice.
learning how to get better at it because it is the truth. And I feel
Mm-hmm.
like the more times we practice, and I know for me, I coach people all over the spectrum, and I've been able to coach quite a few business owners too, because a lot of people, they get stuck and they start telling themselves, I've tried everything. And I always start to snicker inside. I never do it, disrespectfully in front of them, but I start to smile because I'm like, I'm sure you have. And they're like, man, my business is failing, and it's just things are difficult and I've tried everything. Yeah, okay. All right. So let me ask you a few questions. Do I have permission to be direct with you for a second? Because I'm going to ask you some hard questions. Have you physically called everyone in your phone and,
Mm-hmm.
and told them who you are, what you do, and why you do it, and how you can help them? Have you done that? Well, not everybody in my phone, no. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Have you made a post every single day on some kind of social media somewhere that this is who you are, it's what you do, and this is how you can help them? Well, no, I don't post every day. Okay. When's the last time you posted? Oh, about a week ago. Okay. All right. So, do you have a marketing CRM? Yeah, we have one of those. Well, how many people do you have inside? They're all 300 or 400. Okay. How long has it been since 300 or 400 people have heard from you? Well, we haven't used that thing in a while. Okay. Well, let's reevaluate you doing everything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at you haven't done very much.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying you've done everything. Let me
Mm-hmm.
tell you, effort of saying we're going to do everything, it means that out of the, I don't know, 10, 12,000 people that's in this phone, I've called every single one of them.
Mm-hmm.
That 400 people have heard my email every 24 hours. That I've posted every single day on
Mm-hmm.
every single social media platform that I can find. That's the
Mm-hmm.
definition of I've tried everything.
Uh-huh.
And so that's usually the difference. And then somebody says, "Oh, well, I don't like posting on social media. I don't like writing emails. I don't like public speaking. I don't like all these things." And they start giving out these excuses. And I'm like, so what you're telling me is you don't like money.
Yeah. You don't
So
like
if you don't like marketing, you
succeed.
don't like money.
Yeah. You don't like to succeed. That's
Yeah.
that's
What
that's
I'm picking up is you just
yeah,
don't like to succeed.
yeah. It's a tough, valuable lesson, and I remember you. I think it was the last episode you were talking to a friend of yours or a coach, and he said, "What do you tell your coaching clients?" And then he told you, he said, "Well, if you went through and you were like, you had your own aha moment about like, okay, well, I can do more. It's not a question of I've done I've done everything, because you can always do more.
You can, and that's the
You,
thing is,
you definitely can, and it's just the fact that you haven't exhausted every opportunity. You have to probably think to yourself, well, what's going to get me there? What's going to align with my purpose? What do I need to remove? Because most of the time, less is more, because you need to get rid of all those things out of your way, because simplicity scales, complexity does not.
yeah,
The
that's
the people that I've worked for over the last 2.5 decades, and affluent people in my life, most of the time they've gotten really good at one thing, probably for 20 or 30 years. It was later on that they branched out into all these other things. It wasn't that they started 20 businesses at the beginning. They probably did not. They probably did one. There was a guy in Fort Lauderdale. He owned this mansion that looked like the governor's mansion. We call it, when we drive by on the boat, we call it the governor's mansion, because it had the pillars and everything. And he made the patent and license for the AC fan clutch in cars. So he made money off every one of those, and that's mostly what he did. So it wasn't the flashy, he built Ferraris or anything like that. He just built one thing.
yeah, yeah. I
It's
mean, that's
pretty
it.
impressive.
Very impressive. And to just go back for a second, I know a lot of people would say about your morning ritual, the things you're doing, especially the writing down activity, and all the things you put below that. A lot of people would immediately say, well, that works for him because he's got more time in his life. Well, you have to make time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you truly have to make time. If you really want to change life, you have to make time to do that
Definitely.
activity, and say, hey, clear out your schedule, big enough space in your schedule that you can physically take time and not rush through it, and go through each category. And then maybe at the bottom, you have your own affirmation. That's not, I'm just getting started. It's that,
Yeah.
tomorrow's another day, or today's a new day, or something, that you're
Yeah.
going to tie to, that's going to make you smile.
Well, and I'll just qualify that with making the time, is that's usually about 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah. Right.
And
Everybody's asleep.
I don't have to, but that's the time where I find that everything's really quiet and I can actually settle my brain, because a lot of times for me, when I wake up, I'm wide awake and my brain it's like somebody lit a fuse, and it's just 1,000 miles an hour. And like we talked about before, if I'm at home, I'm trying to walk around the house being quiet, and
Yeah.
I'm knocking everything over, kicking everything, tripping over the dog, over the cat, falling on the ground,
You want to
you
talk
know.
about chain reaction here? Chain reaction. If you have a cat in the house, like,
Oh,
it's always a chain reaction with a cat, because the
yeah.
cat is laying in the middle of the floor, loafed or lounging, and then you walk by and knock the pill bottle off the counter, or you knock the water bottle over,
Yeah.
and the cat flips, runs through
Gone.
the house. The dog wakes
Boom.
up. He's barking. You're just sitting here going, wow.
And then the wife's, you hear from the back room, there he goes again. I
The
was
kids are
dead
going,
asleep.
Dad, what's going
Dad,
on?
what's going on?
Are we being
Dad,
robbed?
who's in the house?
Just trying to get my notepad.
And I bought an iPad so I could write on it, because I ended up, like, you getting back to where you were saying, where you were angry and you were writing like pretty bad. Most of the time when I go back and look at it, I can't read what I write.
We had
But
that
I
the other
tried.
day.
I was like, and I said, if I want this to mean something, I really have to take the time to write it out, right, to where when I look at it again, I can see it and I can feel it and everything else. And And that's getting all the senses involved, because it makes a big difference when you can get your purpose, have some emotion behind it. Your why has to have some emotion behind it, even though hopefully going forward you're going to make a lot of logical decisions, not based on pure emotion, because a lot of times that can get us into trouble if you make those type of decisions. But just logically think out how you're going to walk yourself back from that future you that's always just getting started.
Well, you also said something to me that I'm also going to do is writing the letter to yourself. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's powerful as well. Writing that
Yeah.
future letter to, and
Yeah.
just go into that for a minute. What's kind of the ground rules, the premise to that?
Yeah. Well, it definitely is, because I read it. I read that personal declaration. I read it first thing in the morning, and then I read it before I go to bed. And one thing that's very important too is to keep revising it, because as you progress throughout the year, it's going to change, and then just amend it. And anytime you're kind of feeling like you're spiraling down or anything, just take a look at it and then read back through it, and you'd be surprised at how that's going to help you and get you, like, hey, wait a minute, this is what I'm doing. I'm not doing that. I'm not gonna feel sorry for myself or put myself down or not pat myself on the back. This is
Yep.
what I'm doing,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's been really helpful. And I recommend that personal annual declaration a year out. You can even do it 3 years out, 5 years out, 10
Hmm.
years out. There was even a thing I read in the Future Self with Dr. Benjamin Hardy, where Mr. Beast, which he's a very popular guy now, he did a 5-year declaration video for himself, which I thought was pretty unique. And I haven't done it yet, and I'm definitely going to do it, just because I want to see how that unfolds, and then I'll release them as they
Yeah.
come out, and just see how it works, and how you can actually speak things into existence.
Yeah. Actually, this book right here, really cool book. I don't know if you ever read this or not, but it's The Game of Life and How to Play It,
Mm-hmm.
by Florence Shin. And really, it comes down to um, speaking things into existence, really, and
Mm-hmm.
how your words can kind of manifest subconsciously into reality, and how you can all can bring your own bad luck. But this is only it's very easy to read, bigger print, and it's probably about 140 pages,
Okay.
137 actually. And it's a really good book, man. I've read this more than once.
Nice.
And that's one you should definitely get. So it's The Game of Life and How to Play It by Florence Shin.
Game of
And
Life. Definitely read that one.
it's good. It's really good. Actually, reading a Benjamin Hardy book right now. Let me see here. X is better than 2X
Yeah, that's a
Dan
great one.
Sullivan. Yeah.
Yeah, that's he and Dan Sullivan. That's a great one, because it really shows that, like, you can get bogged down into trying to 2x everything, when actually the 10x model is actually closer than you think, and then that you can delegate your way to 10x easier than trying to take on more things and go into the 2x. It it,
Well,
it it's pretty remarkable how simplistic the approach is, and this just shows how much closer we are to those things than we think.
the part I really liked is 2X is where burnout exists.
Yes.
And that's the truth, man, because there was times that I was building some business ventures or in some business ventures that in that 2X part, man, it was like I was burning out because I
Hmm.
wasn't thinking big enough to get myself out. Well,
Yeah.
Scott, this has been another absolutely
Yeah.
amazing episode, my friend.
Yeah.
I can't
Really.
wait.
Yeah. Really. This just keeps getting better and better, and I know we're just getting started, because there's a reason why we're doing this, and like we've said in the past, that we really want to help people, because these conversations are really helpful to the two of us. And and our mindset and our mantra really is that if we just help one person, we've done the right thing.
That's
And
right.
so, I'm Scott Kidd, host of the Yacht Captain Investor podcast and co-host of the Inner Compass, where we we search to find our true north with my good friend here, Eddie Austin. Go ahead and close us out there.
Absolutely, man. So, look, everybody here listening to this, I would ask you to share this with other people. I would ask that you hit the like and subscribe button. And look, at the end of the day, you may be struggling with something right now. And if you are struggling with something right now, we hope that these episodes have been able to resonate with you, spark in you and light you up, because you're supposed to be a light that lights the way for everybody else. And we're always supposed to be doing this. It's reaching up and reaching down. And we're supposed to be grabbing somebody from below and pulling them up with us, at the same time reaching up and getting our next handhold and keep going higher. So look, if this resonates with you, I'm just asking you, comment, like, subscribe, share it with somebody else. It's the only way this will grow. We truly are passionate about helping other people. Our gratitude comes from the things that we get to do every single day. It's not because we have to, it's because we get to do this. And this has been another amazing episode number 7. We'll see you guys on the next one. Have a great day.
Thank you.